You think you're fine because you only spent 200 more than you earned this month. Next month you'll make it up. You won't. And here's why the math is more brutal than you think. When you spend more than you earn, you're not just losing money. You're entering a compounding trap where every month makes the next month harder until you're living in a cycle where every dollar you earn is already spent before it hits your account. And most people don't realize they're trapped until they're 3 years deep and can't remember what financial peace feels like anymore. Let me show you the exact numbers. Because once you see the pattern, you'll understand why hoping things get better without changing the system is the financial equivalent of standing in quicksand and thinking you'll float. Here's the setup. Let's say you earn $3,500 a month after tax. Not rich, not poor, just normal. Your baseline life costs, rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, gas, phone, internet, comes to $3,200 a month. That gives you $300 of breathing room. That $300 should be your buffer, your savings, your future. But you don't save it. You spend $3,700 that month. Maybe it was a wedding gift, car repair, spontaneous weekend trip, something that felt justified at the time. You're now $200 in the red. No big deal, you think. I'll just be careful next month. Month 2 arrives. You still earn $3,500. Your baseline expenses are still $3,200. But now you're starting $200 behind because you put that overspending on a credit card, or borrowed from savings, or delayed a bill. So you actually only have $100 of real flexibility. And life doesn't care that you're trying to recover. Another expense hits. Your phone breaks. $150. You're now $250 in the whole total, and you've been trying for 2 months. Here's where it gets interesting. You're not just dealing with the deficit. You're dealing with the psychological exhaustion of always being behind. So instead of cutting back, you justify another small overspend. Dinner out because you deserve it after a hard week. 60. New shoes because the old ones are falling apart. 80. Month 2 ends at $3,600 spent. You're now $350 total in the red after 2 months. Month 3, you're starting $350 behind. Your baseline is still $3,200, but you need to pay down that deficit or the interest starts kicking in if it's on a card. Let's say you try to pay $100 extra toward the debt. That means you only have $200 left for anything beyond baseline. But life doesn't stop. Your car needs an oil change. 75. A birthday gift for your mom. 50. You end up spending $3,650 this month. You're now $500 total behind after 3 months. By month 6, you're $11,100 in the red. By month 9, you're $1,800 behind. And here's the brutal part. You haven't bought anything crazy. No vacations to Europe. No new car. Just normal life, plus the compounding weight of always starting behind. The deficit grows not because you're reckless, but because the math punishes you for starting each month in a hole. Now let's talk about the interest. If that deficit is sitting on a credit card at 19 APR, that $1,800 becomes $2,100 after 1 year if you don't pay it down. And you can't pay it down because you're still spending $3,600 a month on $3,500 income. The trap tightens. Here's what actually happens psychologically. Around month 4, you stop checking your account balance. It's too stressful. You just swipe and hope. By month 7, you're using one credit card to float another. By month 10, you're taking cash advances or asking family for money and telling yourself it's temporary. It never is. By month 12, you owe $2,400 total. You're paying $80 a month in interest alone. That $80 is money you earned that doesn't buy you anything. It's just the cost of being behind. And because you're paying interest, you now have even less room to catch up. The cycle locks. This is what always happens when you spend more than you earn. It's not a 1-month problem. It's a spiral that compounds faster than your ability to recover, unless you break the pattern with a system. Not just willpower. Willpower fails. Systems survive. So here's the system. It's not sexy. It's not a side hustle fantasy. It's just math that works. Step 1. Stop the bleeding. You cannot save your way out while you're still spending more than you earn. The deficit has to stop growing before you can shrink it. That means your spending this month must be at or below your income, not next month, this month. If you earn $3,500, you spend $3,500 max. That's the floor. How do you do that when you're already behind and life keeps happening? You make a list of every expense for the next 30 days. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, minimum debt payments. Add it up. Let's say it's $3,200. You have $300 left. That $300 has to cover everything else. Coffee, takeout, new clothes, entertainment, everything. If something doesn't fit, it doesn't happen this month. This isn't forever. It's the tourniquet. Step 2. Face the real number. Write down your total deficit. Credit cards, overdrafts, borrowed money, unpaid bills. Don't estimate. Find the actual number. Let's say it's $2,000. That's your enemy. And here's the truth. You're not paying that off in 1 month. If you try, you'll fail and quit. You're paying it off over 12 months. 2,000 divided by 12 is 167 a month. That's the target, but you're still spending $3,500, earning $3,500. Where does the 167 come from? You make a choice. You cut 167 from your monthly spending, or you earn 167 more. Not both. Not someday. This month. Not someday. This month. Maybe you cancel a subscription. Maybe you meal prep instead of eating out. Maybe you sell something. Maybe you pick up 2 weekend shifts. The method doesn't matter. The 167 does. Step 3. Automate the payoff. The day you get paid, 167 goes to the deficit. Not at the end of the month. Not when you have extra. The day you get paid. Automate it if you can. If you can't automate, you move it manually before you spend $1 on anything else. This removes the decision. Decision-making under stress leads to failure. Automation removes stress. Month 1 of the system. You earn $3,500. You spend $3,333 because 167 went to debt. Your deficit drops from 2,000 to 1,833. You're not ahead yet, but you stopped sinking. That's progress. Month 2. That's progress. Another 167 to debt. Deficit drops to 1,666. Month 3, 1,499. By month 6, you're at 998 remaining. And here's where it shifts psychologically. You can see the finish line. That light at the end isn't a train anymore. It's the exit. Your brain starts believing you can actually do this. Month 12. The deficit is gone. You paid off $2,000 while earning $3,500 a month. And here's the part that changes everything. You now have that 167 freed up every month. You didn't get a raise. You didn't win the lottery. You just stopped the bleed, systematized the payoff, and followed it for 12 months. The compound interest that punished you on the way down now works for you on the way up. But here's the trap. Most people fall into the moment they're out of debt. They celebrate by spending again. New phone, night out, small reward. And within 3 months, they're back in the red because they never addressed the core issue. They were living at the edge of their income with zero margin for error. One unexpected expense, one weak moment, and the spiral starts again. The real system isn't just getting out of the hole. It's building a buffer so you never fall back in it. Once that 2,000 deficit is paid off, that 167 a month doesn't go back into your spending. It goes into a separate account you don't touch. That's your anti-fragile fund. Month 1, 167. Month 6, 1,000. Month 12, 2,000 saved. Now when life happens, the car breaks, the phone dies, the wedding invitation arrives, you're not choosing between your budget and your sanity. You pull from the buffer, and then you rebuild it. You're not in survival mode anymore. You're in system mode. And system mode is what separates people who stay broke from people who build wealth slowly, boringly, inevitably. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. If you spend more than you earn, you will never be financially secure. Not because you're bad with money. Not because you don't work hard. but because the math doesn't allow it. You can't spend $3,700 on $3,500 income and expect anything other than compounding stress. The universe doesn't owe you an exception. The credit card companies certainly don't price. But here's the truth that actually helps. The moment you spend less than you earn, even by 50, you've reversed the direction. You're no longer sinking, you're climbing. It doesn't feel like progress at first because you're still in the hole. But the hole stops getting deeper. And once it stops getting deeper, you can start filling it in. Most people wait for a raise, a bonus, a side hustle to suddenly flood them with extra cash so they can fix everything at once. They wait years, and while they wait, the deficit compounds. Meanwhile, the person who cuts 167 from spending today pays 167 toward debt today and commits to 12 months of boring discipline is completely out of the hole while the waiter is still waiting. You don't need a miracle. You need a system, and the system is this. Spend less than you earn. Pay the difference toward your deficit. Automate it. Repeat for 12 months. That's it. No apps it. No tricks. No motivational quotes. Just math and discipline. The numbers don't lie. Month 1, you're 2,000 behind. Month 12, you're even. Month 24, you have 2,000 saved each. The only variable is whether you start today or keep telling yourself next month will be different. Next month is never different unless this month changes. So here's my question for you. How many months have you been spending more than you earn? And what would your life look like 12 months from now if you stopped today? Drop a comment. Let me know where you're starting from and what you're cutting first. Subscribe for more brutally honest financial content that shows you the math, not the fantasy.